So we continue with reaction, of course, with the analyst on the new cabinet announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night with the ANC NEC member, Donald C. Lamulele, as well as political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou. A very good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Dr. Ndou, let me start off with you first. From a political analytical view, what do you make of the balancing act that the president had to execute last night?
Good morning, Aldrin. Good morning to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me. It was quite expected that the president, in his appointment, he will have to look at the other political parties that are in the GNU and ensure that they also get a piece or cabinet positions in his administration. Also, at the same time, with the election results, the allocation of the positions or cabinet positions are reflective of how the parties have performed and also their participation in the government of national unity. He had no choice but to ensure that those that are in support and active participants in the GNU have to be included. An issue, in my view, that could be of a great concern, which could not be avoided, is the fact that the number, the size of the executive appears to be getting bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, in his own explanation, he says he wanted to do that in order to ensure that everyone has to be accommodated. What would be my expectation is that the challenge lies ahead, which talks to how these members of the executive would be able to find one another in order to cooperate and do what is best for all of us.
Yeah, what is clear also from that is that positions actually do matter in politics. While political parties have been arguing that, hey, listen, we don't care really about positions. All we want to do is be part of a government of national unity that is going to take the country forward. But what is evident, even from the reaction that we got now from Helen Zille, the federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance, is that positions are actually important.
Positions matters a lot in politics. The reason why different political parties would contest elections is because they want positions in government. The reason why the president could not constitute cabinet is because different political parties are in the May. The Democratic Alliance wanted issues of positions to be clarified. You are going to get a lot of these politicians who have been appointed being quite excited because that is exactly what they've been looking for. You are not going to hear politicians complaining about the size of cabinet. As long as they benefit, this cabinet has got the right size because positions matters in politics.
What is unavoidable also is, well, you have 11 members that are part of the GNU, and not all 11 political parties are represented in the executive, so perhaps maybe we could see them taking up the various chairperson positions in the portfolio committees in Parliament. But does it somewhat create a, Naledi earlier on was speaking about an us and them, but within the GNU that you have the senior members and the so-called junior members of the Government of National Unity?
What is quite unfortunate is the fact that you have got many parties that are participating in the GNU, and also at the same time, you look at how they performed in the elections. But there are many factors that have taken place before the appointment of cabinet. It's negotiations that have taken place between different political parties that are part of the GNU. Some might have accepted the fact that they cannot be accommodated in cabinet, and also accepted that they could also be accommodated elsewhere. What we still have to wait and see would be how they actually respond to this, if indeed they were not properly consulted. But my sense is that they should have been consulted, and that is why you have this kind of a situation where some are not part of cabinet. But at the same time, it is upon these politicians, those that are in cabinet and those that are not in cabinet, to find ways and means to make a meaningful contribution in the running of government.
As we speak right now, Dr. Levy Ndou, as we speak right now, can we say that those who have been appointed into this executive will have to implement the policies of the ANC that have been on implementation during the previous administration as well as it stands currently?
There is a concept of successor entitlement. Programs that are running now should be allowed to continue running because those programs are budgeted for. There are people that are busy working on those programs. But also at the same time, Cabinet has to sit down in their lekgotla and approve the programs or the program of action of government. So in the context of cooperation, in the context of working together, these politicians should be able to find one another and ensure that there is no disruption of government programs, because we have learned in the past that when you have got a new administration, they would come in, disrupt what has been going on, and that frustrates the programs that have been created and also frustrates the ordinary citizens who are the recipients of these programs. And my view is that our politicians should have learned of what has happened in the past, and that is something that has to be avoided.
Okay, let's bring into the conversation Donald Silamulela, who is a member of the ANC's NEC. Donald, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. The ANC has, of course, reacted to the announcement that has been made by the president of the party. But I wonder what the party thinks, though, about, we just spoke to Helen Zille, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, not chuffed at all that what she calls proportionality as per the statement of intent has been thrown out of the window.
Look, greetings to you and greetings to our viewers and greetings to our doctor in the studio there, Dr. Ndou. We, as the African National Congress, we are very, very delighted. First, and maybe the departing point should be that we congratulate the president for having been able to constitute the national executive after such much of a tedious work, after also even consulted with almost everyone that had to be consulted, finally put in the national executive, having stopped actually the speculations that had been there over time. We are delighted with that, my brother, because at least now we have a direction as a country. Secondly, is that if you see the reflection of the national executive gives life to the very spirit of a government of national unity that we committed as the African National Congress, that as a party that enjoyed the majority of votes from the population, will do everything possible to ensure that we invite everyone on the table to really constitute this particular government. So we are happy. We congratulate the president for having done that, because that obviously, as you know, it has not been a very simple job. It was a very, very difficult job. But we are here today. We have a government. Secondly, that if you look into that particular national executive also, is that you will see that there are various traits, various generations of individuals with various skills that are coming in to assist the national executive and to assist the country to move forward. What is important, which is at the pinnacle of our interest as the African National Congress, is that we need to move South Africa forward. We need to do everything in the interest of our population. Our population, our people, our voters have spoken. And the language they have said is that as political parties, we must work together to move them forward. We are committed, we have committed to that. We have invited everyone. When we invited everyone into the GNU, the basic principle was one. First, that everyone must first subscribe to
Sure.
uphold the constitution,
Sure, Dr.
respect
Donald,
the rule of law.
we understand all of those. I think the ANC has been quite clear on what the statement of intent is and what the purpose behind the statement of intent is. But what I want to find out from you this morning is what's your response to the reaction from the Democratic Alliance's federal chairperson that they're not happy with the decision that was taken by the president to essentially, as they say, throw out proportionality as per the statement of intent out of the window. And mind you, this agreement is still in place.
We have always said that when the final determination of who must determine who must be invited to cabinet is the province, or say terrain, exclusive terrain of the president. We have consulted, we have done everything. At the end of the day, if there are issues that the Democratic Alliance is not happy with, which are in the statement of intent, there is a channel that is there that must be used for them to exploit that particular issue. The president himself has cautioned about addressing matters relating to the GNU in the media space, because then it gets the issues ballooned and polluted unnecessarily. So if the Democratic Alliance, there are areas that has to do with the statement of intent that they are not happy with, they know the channel that must be used to explore those particular issues. You can imagine, my brother, if every political party which is in the GNU now is not happy and we come to the media, we're going to pollute the space, we're going to defeat the very intent and the very purpose of why we are working together. And the president has already cautioned about that, as you may be aware. So we do not want to dwell much into that so that we address each other in the media space. What's important is that if there are issues, let them raise them through the right channel, and the African National Congress and the president in particular will then be able to respond to that. What's important for now is that we have a duty to move South Africa forward, and all the parties are interested in that. So let's move South Africa forward. Let's do everything in our powers. Where there are gray areas, we'll obviously be able to attend those particular gray areas within that particular framework that we agreed.
Okay. What's the role of the ANC NEC going forward now that you have a government of national unity that includes various political parties? What role will the NEC of the ANC play? Would the ANC still have to go and consult? Would the president and its deployees still have to go and consult the ANC NEC? Or do the matters just stop with the GNU? And with that said as well, Donald, did you know before 10 o'clock last night who will be part of the executive as the ANC's NEC? Did you know that?
No. Let's start first. We'll come to the second one. Let's start with your first question. The first question: what is the role of the ANC in this regard?
NEC, the ANC NEC.
The role of the ANC NEC in this regard. The role of the NEC in this regard is that you may be aware that this GNU is ANC led. We must be clear there. That's why the president is the president of the African National Congress, who will continue as the ANC to guide the national executive through the guidance and the person of the president, to continue to guide the country to follow the direction that we view as a direction that the country must then be able to follow. So there's no confusion about that. This GNU is ANC-led. The president will continue to carry the ANC policy, and the ANC NEC will continue to guide and hold all its deployees accountable in terms of what must happen in line with our program of action. Secondly, it is not for us as the ANC NEC to know who the president is going to appoint. What's important is the principle that we have laid in terms of how the president must approach the GNU, the issue relating to the GNU. But we can't go to the nitty-gritties of individuals' names, Donald there, so and so there. No, that's not what the NEC do. Even when, by the way, even when we're in the majority, we had not done that. Yep. The Constitution empowers the president. That's his own curfew to determine who he wants to place where so that the national executive can work. The national executive of the country, the cabinet, can be able to work.
Okay, just a final one, because before I go to Dr. Levy, do you, Donald, as the ANC NEC, fear that you could lose some of your members because of this decision that the party has taken, and some aggrieved members saying that the inclusion of the Democratic Alliance is essentially the inclusion of neoliberalism within what is supposed to be the national development, the NDR, that the ANC is supposed to push?
We are committed, first and foremost, we remain committed to the National Democratic Revolution because we understand it's the revolution that will bring about change in the lives of our people. We know when we achieve that, we have at minimal been able to deal with the challenges that faces our people. Secondly, we're not scared at anyhow that our people, we may lose members because of these particular decisions. Our people have confidence in the leadership and they trust the leadership process. We have embarked, as you would have seen our statement, we have embarked on a process as the national executive to go to provinces together with provincial leadership to explain to structures why we arrived at the determinations we arrived at. That work is continuing. And we have confidence in the members of the African National Congress. We have confidence in our supporters. And we have confidence in the people of South Africa that when we make this explanation, because we're not only going to make to our structures this explanation. Remember, there are a lot of people who vote for the African National Congress who are not necessarily in the structures. There are people that are in the churches. There are people who are in everywhere. We're going to be embarking the whole July in a process of explaining to the people of South Africa, various sectors, why we arrived at a determination we arrived at and where we are and how we intend to move South Africa forward. So there's no confusion, we have no fear. Okay. Those who have challenges will continue to explain to them until they fall into understanding why we have to make the decision we're making. But what is important for us is that we know that our people have confidence and have appreciation of the leadership and trust in the processes and in the leadership itself. So we have no doubt, we have no fear whatsoever.
Dr. Ndou, in conclusion, what do you think the biggest challenge lies ahead for the ANC? Because essentially it is still the biggest political party in the country and the oldest political party at that as well.
Well, I think the challenge that lies for the ANC, in my view, is how they manage the government of national unity outside the corridors of government. I think one specific area that they need to focus on would be to deal with issues relating to communication. There should be a clear line of communication on how matters of GNU are dealt with. It will not be good to get different political parties talking to the issues of government of national unity through the media, like is being said by Mr. Slamlela, because that has got a potential to pollute the space and also at the same time send misinformation. Another aspect would be the management of cohesion within the government of national unity. We understand that these parties come from different backgrounds, different ideologies, and how they conduct their affairs. But I think the decision that they took to be part of the GNU would require that there should be some set of values that are supposed to be shared that will talk to how they conduct themselves as members of the government of national unity, so that that coherence should start at GNU level and also at government level, so that we don't see these people speaking in different tongues.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Levy Ndou, as well as Donald Silamulela, who is a member of the ANC's NEC.